The second opinion, which is now the opinion that I follow, the second opinion is the opinion that invoking the saints, it is haram, and it is evil, and it is an evil innovation, a religious innovation, a bid'ah, and it is a stepping stone to shirk. It is opening the doors to shirk, but it is not shirk in and of itself unless that action is accompanied by a belief that you're calling out to a God. It is accompanied by a belief that you are deifying that entity that you are calling. So, opinion 2 says that the action is evil and haram and bid'ah and munkar and a stepping stone to shirk, but it is not necessarily shirk in and of itself. And if a person has a particular aqeedah or belief about the one they are calling, then it becomes shirk. And if they have another aqeedah or belief, then it is haram, but it does not become in and of itself shirk. It is dangerous, and it is something we warn against. But in and of itself, it is not going to be shirk unless the person doing it believes that they are worshipping a being that is worthy of worship, that has independent powers, that has the powers of a God. And this is the position of the majority of modern day Malikis for sure. This is the Maliki madhab. And it is also many of the Hanafi scholars and really a lot of the Shafi'i scholars of Egypt and Syria. And in terms of the strands of Sunnism, this is the default position of the Deobandi movement as well. And it is also the position of many of the scholars of Al-Azhar and other famous institutions, that they would say that it is haram and it is evil and it is a stepping stone to shirk, but that it is not in and of itself shirk unless the action is associated with a belief, or it is accompanied by a belief that is going to be a belief of shirk, and therefore the action will then also become an action of shirk. And as I said, I myself am now an advocate of this second position. I used to be 1B, and now I am very staunchly in opinion 2. The third opinion, which is there, and factually speaking, one finds it among scholars from around 700, 600 years ago. It's nothing that's, we cannot say that this is a new opinion. I have done an extensive amount of research in this, and you will actually find statements from respected Sunni ulama, but again, factually speaking, very, very small minority, going back 500 years, 600 years, even one of them 700 years, and they will say that it is permissible. Those scholars said permissible. And some of the modern followers of that trend will say it is mustahab. It is not just permissible, but it is encouraged. And it is pleasing to Allah to ask these entities for our needs. And this is the position that is found in some Hanafi scholars and some Shafi'i scholars of our times, and it is predominant in some interpretations of Tasawwuf or Sufism. Not all. Many of the scholars of Tasawwuf are in the second category, and some of them are in the third category. And in our times, to make us understand what we're talking about, so the popular trend in our Indian Pakistani circles would be the Barelvi trend of Islam. And so group 1 is like the Ahl Hadith of India, Pakistan, group 2 is like the Deobandis, and group 3 is like the Barelvis, and they have their positions in this regard. Now,
Ivy London, UK. Assalamu alaikum, Sensei. Is calling upon the dead shirk akbar? If those who call on the dead don't see them as gods, or is this an act that is just haram and not shirk?
Tayyib. Is calling upon the dead, is it shirk or is it just haram? Is it only haram as long as you don't believe that they're a God? At the end of the day, there's not much I have to say with regards to this answer, except that the concept of why do you call upon the dead? What are you asking the dead for? What are you asking them for? Why do people call upon the dead? What do they want or need from the dead? Wealth, what else?
Health.
Knowledge, what else? Why would you call upon the dead, the ancestors? This God, this goddess.
Assistance.
Protection. assistance, victory on the battlefield, cure, shifa, etc., etc. Inshallah. So therefore, when we go to a grave and we call upon someone who's dead, and they've been dead for 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 years. I don't believe that they're God. They're not Allah, but they have powers to help me, to support me, and to do things for me that they didn't have when they were alive. Now they're magically bestowed these powers after they have died. And they're still in the graves themselves. But I don't believe that they have any supernatural power. I don't believe that they're deities. I don't believe that they are Allah. I don't believe that they're God. I'm just calling upon them because I think and I feel that they can help me out and do things for me on earth, and they're in the graves. And that's not shirk. That's just haram. Yani, who would say something like that? Calling upon the dead is just unlawful. It's not shirk because you don't believe that they're Allah. Why are they even calling upon them? Unless that they believed and thought and felt from the beginning is that this dead person has some type of power that the average human being doesn't have. So what separates Allah from His slaves? أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. Allah asks the question over and over again. Who answers the muttar? The one on the side of the road in a car accident. The one who's drowning. The one who's in a serious situation. Who answers him? وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. And removes the harm from him. Who does it? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Jibreel? Why not? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar, Ali? Allah. So why even go to the dead and the deceased and the ancestors except that you believe that they have some superpower that is only for Allah Azza wa Jal? When I was in Yemen once, I heard a story. One of my teachers told me a story of a Soviet paratrooper. Okay, and obviously Yemen used to be divided north and south. You have the concept of communism, let alone Afghanistan, etc. So there was a Soviet paratrooper who was an atheist, like many Soviet people at that time supposedly were. So he was going to invade a Muslim country, he was going to invade parts of Yemen, etc., jumped out of the plane to land. It's a paratrooper. So as he jumped out of the plane, and the height and the distance came for him to pull out his parachute, it didn't work. He pulled it and yanked it, didn't work. So obviously the reserve, pulled it and yanked it, what? Didn't work. Then obviously you're dropping, gravity's pulling you, you're falling faster and quicker and quicker and faster. And if you don't do something quick, you're going to fall and crush your legs and your ankles. Gruesome, painful death. So they said the atheist Soviet paratrooper, he said, Ya Allah. Pulled it, yanked it, and the parachute came out. So you're only calling upon Allah, you're only asking Him, you're only begging Him, you're only seeking from Him, except that you know and you believe He has the power to help you. And Allah's power is not limited or restricted. And Allah answers the dua of 1 million people who call upon Him at once. And He gives whom He wills, what He wills, whenever He wills. So if you go to a dead person, if you go to a spirit or an ancestor, that's the only reason why you're going to them. You believe that and you think that they have a supernatural divine power. If that's not shirk, then billahi alayk. By Allah, I ask you, what is what? What is shirk? So a wise man once said, there's some who are wise and there's some who are otherwise. There's some who are wise and there's some who are otherwise. And an ignorant scholar, unfortunately, is a sad and harsh reality. There can be a thing called an ignorant scholar, al-alim al-jahil. And a person thinks and feels that they have so much ilm that it causes them to be blinded to the reality that they don't have basic, simple, plain common sense. So we ask Allah to protect us from this. Protect us from being people who are ignorant scholars, thinking that we know. and being blinded from something so plain and so simple.